Holy heck! Thank you, Fox. Also, hello, everyone. I have returned from gathering tea, as is the custom. How are we doing tonight? Excellent. Let's see who's here. I see an Anna, a Len, a Jolie, Rock, Fox. It's always fun when I get to say those two together like that. King and Green and Twilight. And I think I see some possibly new faces or some lurkers. Welcome, friends. Since 2019, that was 1,000 fucking years ago. Also, 1,000 fucking years ago was like the first of these streams back in like, what, 2018? 2018 was so long ago. It was so long ago. I'm gonna actually look. I need to look at the YouTubes and see when did this one happen? No, I'm just gonna scroll back. Way the fuck back in the channel. This should be hilarious. We could be here a while I scroll. But we'll get there. I'll just search dates. That's the faster way. I'm pretty sure... I'm fairly sure in August of 2018. We were like... we were up to the Cosima route or something like that, if I remember right. Or maybe the proper Heisuke route. We didn't really even have a channel for what was going on. Apparently we didn't start doing that until September. Wow. Those posts began September 13th of 2018, and I opened up the channel with Tumblr memes from Hakuoki. As is right and proper. Hello, Lynn. Yeah, it's worth going back to the old times of the channel. Let me tell you, we've got some Amagiri with eyebrows drawn on, thanks to Danny. Yes, you knew what you were doing, Lynn. Nobody else had any idea except me. I knew. It was rigged. We didn't ever accidentally a Heisuke. We just straight up went for it, technically. But it's good because we love Heisuke. He's a good boy. All right. We ready to dive in and probably cry a lot and be sad? I'm just gonna kill that music right now. Bring on the tears! Here we go. Onward. So last time we did a heckin' fight, which was pretty great, right? We, well, we kinda protected, Kondo. And ourselves. As best we could. Then there was some crying in the rain. And so on. Here we go. Yes, there was much samurai drama in the last scene.
We returned to Edo to meet up with Nagakura and the rest of our forces, who were at the Hatamoto mansion. Kondo, rather expectedly, was disconsolate from his first defeat on the battlefield, more so than most of the captains had expected. Even after he had returned to headquarters, he spent most of his time moping.
Yes, we got the sword vow scene last time as well. It was so good and so, ow, my heart.
Yoshinobu, the supreme commander of the shogunate army, was ordered out of the imperial court and into house arrest at the Kane temple in Ueno.
So, yay, he's under house arrest. Hello, Percy, welcome. My son has arrived. And he's going to just keep going in and out the door.
The imperial court was now in the hands of the Satsuma and the Choshu, making it painfully clear that the loyalist faction was in a numerically untenable position.
Hey, Monochrome. Well, the numbers aren't on our side either. We sure suck.
Sometime later, I was sweeping the entrance when I looked up to see Saito on his way out.
Thank you for the sub. 3 months in a row. Monochrome, thank you.
Oh, Saito. Are you off to work? Have a good day.
手が空いたら副長にうまい茶でも出してやってくれ。
Without even waiting for me to respond, he gave a curt nod and was off. Saito had never been talkative, but lately he seemed exceptionally taciturn. Perhaps he was still upset over what had happened. Are you guys really leaving?
ああ、もう決めちまったんだ。
Ow. That's right. It's this.
俺たちと近藤さんじゃ目指してるものが全然違う。これから先一緒にやっていけるとは思えねえ。
Oh, it's going to be lonely here without you. What are you going to do now?
今んとこまだ決めてねえけど、これからも薩長と戦うってのは変わらねえぜ。そのうち俺があいつらを何百人切ったって知らせがこっちにも届くと思うから楽しみに待っててくれよ。
Oh my god.
そんじゃ元気でな。
Okay. You too.
It really is. Like that. So that's where the common route in Kyoto Winds is really nice, because you do get sort of all of this FaceTime with each one of them and you see them together as a unit. And everything in Edo Blossoms is all about the way the Shinsengumi starts to fracture. And it actually hurts to watch. It's well done, but it's painful.
We'd been so close. It was sad to see them go. Then again, I'd only known them a few years. How sad their departure had to be for Kondo, Hijikata, and Saito, who'd known them much, much longer. And one more person who's not here right now. Okita's condition worsened, and he'd been moved to a separate house in Sendagaya. One by one, our friends from Shie Hall were disappearing. Why had it come to this? I wondered. Cleaning suddenly felt particularly pointless. I decided to go make some tea and see if Hijikata was in his room.
God, that hurt. Ow. I wasn't ready right off the bat, Jesus. The bro squad is wonderful. There's such a point of light in all of this, so it hurts especially bad to see them break up. Turns into a blood scene. Unless we get two choices back to back, it shouldn't.
Hijikata, I've brought you some tea. I opened the door as I spoke and stopped. Peeking halfway in, I saw Sunnon and Heisuke. All three faces were set in hard lines. Whatever I had interrupted, it was serious. I'm so sorry. I didn't realize you were in the middle of a meeting. I began to back away as quickly as I could when... His words froze me in place. But before I could reply, Sannon spoke.
羅刹隊の増強を中止せよとは一体どういうことです
Oh dear. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy.
そのままの意味だ。今後羅刹隊の隊士を増やすつもりはねえ。今いる人員で何とかしてくれ。
Hey, Thunder Dragon. Thank you for the resub. 7 months total. Dang, friend. Also, welcome. It is apparently Tragedy Hour, where we sadly watch all of our best bros leave. And there's nothing we can do about it.
その命令には納得できません。今の新選組の兵力を考えると、羅刹隊の増強は急務のはずです。先ほど東堂君から聞きました。長倉君と原田君が脱退してしまったと。彼らの離脱は相当の痛手です。
So you want to replace them with Furies?
新たな大使を募ったところで、所詮は烏合の衆。敵が近づいてくれば、すぐに逃げ出してしまう。
Sannon, I have questions, man. I have questions and I don't think I want the answers.
そんな者たちに期待をかけるより、我々羅刹隊の力をもっと生かすべきではないですか。
Heisuke doesn't seem to be on board.
Heisuke looked down at the floor. He'd said nothing since I arrived, but it was clear from his face that, Fury or not, he didn't always agree with Sannon. I stood tensely, watching their cold, fixed gazes.
確かに兵力を増強することだけ考えるなら、羅刹隊を強化するのが一番手っ取り早いだろうな。
Western Heisuke is real cute. We can't see it on the screen here, but he has a very lovely purple and yellow sash on around his waist. It's very it like sort of ends up looking like he's got a sweatshirt tied around his waist, like 90s style, and it's very appropriate. And it's a good callback to his original colors too.
ならばどうして。
だが羅刹には重大な欠点がある。これは信頼できる筋から得た情報だ。
Yeah, we learned that lovely news.
He meant to tell Sannon what he'd learned from Amagiri.
羅刹の力の源はその人間の寿命だ。つまり力を使えば使うほどこの先生きていられる時間が短くなっちまう。
Oof. That's a hell of a bomb to drop in this conversation, Hijikata.
なんですって。
Sannon's eyes, usually so cool and calculating, went wide as saucers behind his glasses. Suddenly, he dropped to his knees as the realization of his powerlessness immediately registered to him.
つまりやむを得ねえ時を除いて羅刹の力はなるべく使わねえに越したことはねえ。
The color had drained from his face. Silence filled the room for several long seconds before Sunnon finally raised his head and spoke.
でしたら、なおさら研究を進めるべきでしょう。
I think in general, this is getting that news is sort of the turning point where he's really trying to find a cure. But we don't really get that except in his route, technically. Do I need to bump the audio? Alright, hold on. How's this? We'll see how the voices go.
研究を続ければ、その欠点を補う方法も見つかるかもしれない。
Better? Cool.
それは、羅刹となった君のためにも必要なことのはずです。
副長命令だ。羅刹の研究は中止してくれ。もちろん、部隊の増強もなしだ。
We have literally 3 right in this room.
Sunnon said nothing. Instead, he simply glared at Hijikata as seconds stretched into minutes.
三男さん、行こうぜ。
You gotta have some pity for Heisuke, who is basically Sannon's handler at this point. We sort of do, don't we? Sannon's absolutely the orders a black coffee and pulls away from the drive corner. Hijikata is we have food at home, and Heisuke is obviously McDonald's, McDonald's, McDonald's. Oh. Dad Likes Cats, thank you for gifting a sub.
He sat unmoving for a few more minutes until at last he sagged, defeated, and turned to Heisuke. There were lines in his face, perhaps proof that his life was already leaving him steadily.
わかりました。
Oof.
Sannon and Heisuke had turned to leave the room when...
あれ、近藤さん、こんなところで何してるんだ？
いや、ちょっと散歩に出ようと思ってな。たまたま通りかかっただけだ。気にしないでくれ。
Oof. Kondo's real depressed.
I heard them exchange a few short pleasantries in the hallway, and then 3 sets of footsteps faded away. The room grew awkwardly silent.
Oh, Twilight, thank you for gifting that sub to Lynn. Lynn, enjoy the hype skay.
Hijikata sighed and let his gaze drift out the window. The tea's cold now. I'll go pour you a new one.
いや、喉が渇いているからな。これくらいでちょうどいい。
Oh no, he makes me really sad when he gets all quiet like that. Ow.
He took a sip and sighed again quietly, a distant look in his eyes. He'd taken on a tremendous workload, tiring him day in and out, and he looked drained beyond all reason.
Oh, Len, thank you for the bets! I too would like to hug Slightly Scary Workaholic Man and maybe tell him to slow it down a little.
How hard had Nagakura and Harada's departure hit him?
新八と原田の足抜けは相当の痛手か。正論だよな。返す言葉もねえや。
His voice shook almost imperceptibly, and his mouth curled into a bitter smile as he spoke.
まあ、いずれこうなるだろうってのは覚悟してたし、あの二人に夢を見せてやれなかったのは俺たちの落ち度だ。
Oh.
にしても、新選組も人が随分減って様変わりしちまったな。
I couldn't imagine what was going through his head. To be a leader and command the loyalty and obedience of tens or hundreds of men was something I couldn't begin to understand. Every night he worked until the sun came up. It was painful for the Furies to be up during the day, but every day Hijikata met with shogunate representatives.
Literally, when does this man sleep? What the fuck? Hijikata, please take a nap. Being a Fury doesn't mean you can't sleep. You still need to sleep, man. Maybe he takes a nap while he's waiting a billion fucking years for the shogunate representatives to meet with him.
Even I could see the horrible toll it was taking on his body. What could I do for him? Please, Hijikata. You have to stop.
やめろってのはどういう意味だ?
His voice was much harder than I'd expected, and it gave me pause. No, I thought to myself. This was something I had to say. I'm only telling you to do what you told Sannan to do a few moments ago. Don't use your fury abilities unless it's an emergency.
なんでお前にそんなことを指図されなきゃいけねえんだ?
Well, you became a fury because you were protecting me from Kazuma. If you hadn't fought a demon, then you'd still be a human now. You wouldn't have had to.
前に言わなかったか。俺は俺の意志で落ち水を飲んだんだ。誰に強制されたわけでもねえ。
When you say things like that, it just makes it worse. If you're in pain, please just say so. Can't you just tell me the truth? Don't you wish you'd never become a fury? For a moment, the room was silent, and then Hijikata began to laugh.
The movie follows it reasonably closely, with the exception of it sort of blends in bits from the other boys' routes to kind of give them their hero moments a little more, I think. At least, it follows it to my memory, but I also have not played the Edo Blossoms version, so fuck if I know what we're in for. But we also have history as a spoiler, so I think, we roughly have some idea of what we're in for.
かなわねえな、本当に。
There are two movies. There's a part 1 and a part 2, and they are fucking fantastic. They have some damn fine action in them, and wow, it's real good. Yes, they will also make you cry a lot. Yep. They also have the unequivocally best version of Kazuma. Granted, that's not difficult. That's a very low bar. But yes, they're good. I've hosted viewings of them a few times. If there's ever a desire to see them again, I am more than happy to do so once more.
Yeah, お前も江戸の女なんだなって思ってよ。前に話したっけか。俺は多摩の百姓の家の末っ子でな。
Oh, Hijikata's baby! Oh, yes, the title drop was true of the original game. So, yes, the title drop will happen.
親父もおふくろも割と早くに亡くなっちまったから、4つ上の姉貴に面倒を見てもらってたんだ。その姉貴の喋り方がお前に少し似ててな。掃除の姉のミツさんも同じような感じだったな。
Turns out Edo girls are just the mom friend. So yeah, Okito was basically raised by his eldest sister as well. These boys got raised by their sisters.
身内に叱られてるみたいで、言うことを聞かなきゃならねえような気にさせられちまう。
Really? I'd never heard him talk about his childhood like that before. It felt surreal.
あの天霧とかいう鬼が言ってた通りなら、羅刹の力を使わなきゃ寿命が縮んだりはしねえってことだろう。本当にどうしようもねえくらい辛くなったらそういうさ。だから心配するな。
He'd likely keep most of his pain to himself. That was just who he was. But if he really meant that, he would tell me when it became unbearable. All right, I understand. I'd take his word for it, this time. So, what will the Shinsengumi be doing now?
とりあえず近藤さんに気合を入れ直してもらって北に行こうと思ってる。
I know, this is so sweet. I'm wondering if maybe by the time I got to Hijikata's route, when I played the original game, I was just fatigued and didn't pay attention to what the fuck was happening, or perhaps I just have more appreciation for the character this time around. Because this is really good.
North?
今の幕府は頼りにならねえが、東北諸藩が残ってる。会津、仙台が中心になりゃ、まだまだ戦えるはずだ。
I believe the movies came out before they did these remakes. So it's very possible that they took some notes from that and from all the other material they'd released between. And yeah, there's a big difference between like Kyoto Winds and Edo Blossoms, which is like tracks pretty well with historical anecdotes about how Hijikata sort of softened up as the war went on. There's some notes about how he sort of became a bit of a father to the men under his command and was a little more genial than the rumored younger days where he was a bit more stern and scary. And they sort of reflect that here in the narrative a lot.
Matsumoto senseiの手配で流山に武器弾薬、そして人を集めてもらってるんだ。そこで皆と合流して合図に向かう。
He yells less. He's just real sad and tired by this point, you know?
仮に江戸薩長に取られたとしても、奴らはいずれ京に戻らなきゃならねえはずだ。そうなったら、すぐ江戸を取り戻して。
Oh no, here we go.
Suddenly his body twisted and hunched, and he grasped a hand to his suddenly heaving chest.
Fuck.
Hijikata's eyes bulged from his head in pain. Hundreds of sweat beads appeared all over his face.
Well.
Hijikata? What's wrong? He only shook his head, unable to speak through the pain. I'd seen him like this before. Is it the bloodlust? He didn't respond, but I'd known I was right even as I asked.
No, Chizuru, it's sudden heartburn. He had some bad rice balls.
I had no other choice. With steady hands, I unsheathed my kodachi and laid the edge against my fingers, ready to cut. But Hijikata's hand on my wrist stopped me.
Thank you for the follow, Rakamillion.
Why? The pain will go away if you drink blood. I tried to pull away, but he held fast and shook his head.
Man, I don't know if I trust your hand to be steady right now. Oh, right. We get a CG for this one. This is the first time.
He moved around behind me and loosened my collar. I felt the cool air touch my neck, followed by Hijikata's fingers. He was looking for a place to make the cut. A moment later, I felt the kiss of the cold blade against my skin, and then, without a sound, I felt it sink in. I bit my lip at the pain, but said nothing.
Well, that's a way to put it. Writers, please.
Eventually.
Anyway. Yep, mark that one on your bingo card, everybody. Anyway. We have so many chapters to go. Let's see how terrible they do with this one.
His warm lips touched the cut on my neck, and then I felt his face press against me as he began to drink. Again and again he drank, as thirsty as a man who had been stranded in the desert. I could feel his breath on my skin. It made me shiver. Never before had I been so close to a man. Nerves made my body begin to twist until Hijikata's hands grabbed my shoulders.
This is somewhat less horny than the others have been, so there's that, I guess. But they're skirting the line a tad.
When he spoke, his voice was low and husky.
Sure thing, dude.
Okay. I realized suddenly that he didn't want me to see him in his fury state.
Yeah, our bar is really low. What would we say is the worst one? Not to think back on them or anything, but I'm really curious what we think might have been the worst. I know there was some really horrible language around Sanans that I just really wish I could put from my mind. But Yamazaki's got pretty awful. And Iba's also got weird.
Those few words, a last strained defense of his wounded pride, tore at my heart, and I felt a lump rise in my throat. For his sake, I did my best to calm my breathing, rapid from nerves and excitement. Though I did my best to hide it, there was no denying that my heart was beating faster and faster.
Yeah, this one feels a bit more like maybe they didn't edit it from the original. Thank God. Which, now that I think about it, the original ones might be fine because they probably didn't like re-edit them too much. And they weren't particularly horny in the original translation, if I recall correctly. So all the new boys kind of got shafted.
Was he saying that to convince me or to convince himself?
Yeah, and the dual blood drinking on Soji's was technically a route to a bad end. So it, like, you would get it, but only if you were choosing, like, going down that direction. Yeah, so in Soji's route, spoiler warning, we'll give you a minute. Okay, and spoiler time now. Kaoru jams the fury juice down Chizuru's throat and turns her into a fury as well. So there's a point at which she starts to get the bloodlust and Soji gets the bloodlust, and they basically just take care of each other. Mm-hmm. Yup, an Oni fury. It doesn't really work like that, no, but it's fine, I guess. That's why it was part of, like, succumbing to that basically was them, signaling the bad end. Kaoru's the worst. We hate him.
You don't have to hold back. I want to help in whatever way I can. The day that I'd watched Inoue and Yamazaki die, I'd felt a horrible, torturous regret. There had been nothing I could do for them. Ever since, I'd cursed myself for being unable to help the Shinsengumi after they'd sheltered and protected me for so long. But now, at last, there was something I could do. I could ease Hijikata's thirst. I felt his grip on me tighten. Emotions washed over me. Guilt, disappointment, anger, regret. And I realized they were Hijikata's. His hands were warm.
Yeah, I think that was probably like that survived from the original because that was clearly not nasty. I suspect it's very figurative. She's just good at reading the room, so to speak.
Eventually, he let go, slowly, and stepped away. His breathing had returned to normal, and there was color in his face again.
悪かったな。痛い思いさせちまって。
Oh, no, it's nothing. See? The cut's already closed up. I'll be staying here for quite a while. So if you ever need me, please, just let me know.
お前の血を当てにしろってのか。
She's like, blood bank's open whenever you need it.
Yes. I nodded and he gave me a crooked smile.
そういう言葉はお前には似合わねえよ。そんなこと抜かしてると都合よく使い捨てられちまうぞ。
Yeah, but you wouldn't.
He was only joking and I knew it. But there was a part of me that felt that if it was Hijikata who used me up, then maybe it wouldn't really be so bad.
Chizuru, maybe no. That's weird. We were doing so well. It seems different, but that's only because it didn't get the working over that all of the new boys did. I'm like 90% sure. Most of them are actually supposed to be like that. Yep. And as I think about it, I'm pretty sure Soji's were not particularly bad either, and I know Heisuke's weren't. They only started to get really fucking wacko when we got to all of the new suitors. And Sano, of course, does not become a Fury, so we never got blood drinking scenes with him. Same with Kazuma, because, like, he's an Oni and he hates Furies, so yeah.
Sometime after that incident, we began to move to Nakaoka in Nagarayama, a mansion east of Edo.
Yay! Shimo-san no Kuni. I do my best with the names. I try.
Kondo had become reluctant to go into battle, but after several talks with Hijikata, he was eventually convinced otherwise. Until we'd finished our preparations for our journey to Aizu, we would be training in Nagarayama.
His good ending also is very sad, though, because it kind of implies that he fucking dies no matter what you do. Disease sucks.
Saito was visiting some place named Ichikawa, where he would be training us to use new modern weapons.
Or armaments, or whatever. I can read words with my eyes and my mouth.
Sannan and Heisuke had left with the Fury Corps along with the Utsunomiya route to Aizu, since they couldn't go to the Kaneko mansion.
Suddenly words are hard! Yeah, Soji's
雪村先輩、局長はどこですか？
Soji's just there to make us cry. Which, now that I think about it, apparently that's just maybe that's the archetype that Morikubo makes his money on. Because there's also Toa, who is also there to make us cry.
Oh, Kondo is in his room reading a book. Is something the matter?
いえ、特に用事ってわけじゃないんですけど。
Interesting dialogue tonight? I know, it's wild that Toa and Soji are voiced by the same person. He does such a good job with those two archetypes, though. Oh yeah, the maybe it would be okay if he used me up thing. That was a little weird. A little weird. But in fairness, I sort of wonder if that's a cultural thing, because I've seen that come up in anime and manga before. It, like, I don't know. It is... Toa and Soji are both cats. Yes.
Nomura had a peculiar look on his face, as if there were something on his mind.
局長はもしかして新政府軍と戦う気力をなくしてしまったのかなって。
Oh, I mean, he kind of did.
Well, I don't think that's the case. I wouldn't say that he's completely lost his will to fight. Nomura seemed hesitant to respond as he stayed silent for a moment, but eventually...
そうっすよね。局長はあの土方副長が尊敬している方なんですから。きっとすぐに元の局長に戻るに決まってますよね。
Oh, buddy. I just want to ruffle his hair and tell him everything is going to be fine. And then I remember what the canon has in store for him, and then I'm really sad.
すいませんでした。変なことを聞いて。
With that, Nomura quickly scurried off, entering the side of the building. He raised a good point, though. Ever since we had arrived here, Kondo seemed like a different person. The ambitious fire in his eyes grew a little dimmer. He would either lock himself up in his room, or he'd spend time reading or contemplating in the garden.
I don't know, does it? Kondo gets executed, but Nomura gets shot with, like, a Gatling gun or some shit. It's not great either way.
But I held on to the sliver of hope that his confidence was only a little deflated from the defeat in Kofu. I knew that surely his confidence would soon be restored, and he'll return to his usual self.
Yeah, that's pretty much what happens. It's not a good time.
Kondo, I've brought you some tea.
ああ、ありがとう。
God, he sounds so sad.
He paused in the act of flipping a page to smile up at me. What are you reading?
三国志演義に清正記に軍記物の読み物ばかりだな。
He's reading about history, which is neat.
もう暗唱できるくらい読み込んだんだが、何度読み返しても新たな感動があってな。子供の頃は思ってたもんだよ。いつか完成帝君みたいに立派な武将になって自分ではない誰かのために戦おうって。
Oh no, we're having this conversation, which means we're really close to. So, Kansei Taikun was a general who served under Liu Bei, a Chinese warrior who lived during the late Han Dynasty. This name was bestowed upon him as a gesture of deification.
He grinned like a young boy, but after a moment the grin faded.
だが、願うだけでは名将にはなれんのだな。それに気づくのがちと遅かったようだ。
Oh, Kondo. Yeah, it's gonna be a fun time.
He shut the book softly and set it down on top of his desk. What are you talking about? You've only just begun. But he didn't even seem to hear me.
トシはどうしている？
I think he's up in his room writing something. Probably orders for Saito. He's off in Ichikawa right now, you know?
そうか。トシには無理ばかりさせてるな。
I don't think he's pushing himself too hard. And nothing makes him happier than being able to help you. That's just the kind of guy he is.
すっかりトシの交渉役が板についている。あいつのことをよくわかってるじゃないか。
You think so? He seemed quite serious about it, and I felt my cheeks getting warm. That's right. Back when I first got here, I was supposed to be his page or something.
そうだな。まさかこんなに長い付き合いになるとはあいつも予想してなかっただろう。
Before I knew it, we were reminiscing about the time we'd spent in Kyoto. Back then, we never could have guessed that the Satsuma Choshu alliance would take control of the imperial court or reinstate the emperor. There were many challenges we faced, but I thought we'd continue our lives as they were in Kyoto. But I know things will work out. Hijikata will get us through this. He responded with a melancholy laugh.
だがな、雪村君。俺はそれも酷じゃないかと思うんだよ。
Ow. I mean, no, not exactly. Also, remember, Ito was technically of the other faction. He was all about the Sono Joy, expel the foreigners, revere the emperor thing. So he would have been on the side that won anyway.
What do you mean? Before he could answer, the door slid open with a snap, and Hijikata and Shimada ran in, their faces tense and drawn. Hijikata? What's happened?
すぐ逃げる準備をしてくれ。ここは敵に囲まれてる。
Fuck.
What?
敵兵は2、300はいます。奴らに気づかれないよう 裏口からここに入ってきました。
Oh fuck.
せめて桁が一つ少なきゃどうにかできたんだがな。
Yeah, sorry, gentlemen. There is no way you're taking on 200 or 300 men.
Hijikata worked his lip and glanced out the window, frustrated and tense.
今からじゃ斎藤たちを呼び戻す時間もねえ。俺が何とかするしかなさそうだな。島田、それから雪村、近藤さんを連れて先に逃げてくれ。
What? Hijikata, not even you can take on that many people. And it's daytime out there.
そんなのやってみなきゃわかんねえだろ。
Hijikata, no.
しかし相手は銃を主体とした部隊です。
Sir, you are going to die.
Both Shimada and I moved toward the door in an effort to physically stop Hijikata, if it came to that. Kondo was in quiet contemplation since Hijikata and Shimada had entered, but now he finally spoke.
Yeah, this moment from the movie is like, oh god, it hurts so bad.
待ってくれ。トシがそこまでする必要はない。俺が向こうの本陣へ行くよ。
何を言ってやがる。みすみす死にに行くようなものじゃねえか。
もちろん新選組の近藤だとは名乗らんよ。偽名を使って別人になりすますつもりだ。俺たちは旗本でこの辺りを警備してる鎮圧部隊だと言えばごまかせるだろう。お前たちが逃げる時間くらいは稼げるはずだ。
Shimada and I were both shocked into silence, but not Hijikata.
バカかあんた。あいつらがそんな甘い連中だと思ってんのか。今日で散々見てきたじゃねえか。奴らが俺たちを恨んでねえはずがねえ。すぐに気づかれて捕まえられるに決まってるだろう。
仮に捕まってしまったとしても、俺はもう大名の位をもらってるんだぞ。そう簡単に殺されはしないさ。
あんたは甘いんだよ。幕府からもらった身分なんて奴らには毛ほどの価値もねえ。殺されちまうのが分かってるのにみすみす行かせられるはずがねえじゃねえか。
No matter what Hijikata said, Kondo's expression didn't change. He only gazed back at him, his expression cool and placid.
お前が何を言っても無駄だ。もう決めてしまったことだからな。
Hijikata began to shake. In all the time I'd been with the Shinsen Gumi, I'd never seen Hijikata and Kondo act like this before. Usually it was Hijikata who kept a cool head, and Kondo who succumbed to his emotions. But this time...
ふざけんじゃねえ。大将のあんたがいなくて何が新選組だ。
Oh my god, this hurts.
俺はあんたを引きずってでも連れて行くからな。今さら逃げ出すなんて許すもんかよ。あんたの命はもうあんた一人のものじゃねえんだ。
Hijikata was screaming at Kondo, his white-knuckled fists gripping the front of the other man's kimono, and his eyes red with held-back tears.
I know. God, this performance is so good, but God, it's stabbing me right in the heart.
But his fury and pleas broke across Kondo's impassable calm like wind against a mountain.
ならばこれは命令だ。島田君と雪村君を連れて市川の隊と合流せよ。
Hijikata stumbled back a step, shocked by the force of Kondo's voice.
俺に命令するのかあんたが。何に合わねえ真似してんだよ。
His eyes were still dry, but his voice trembled.
局長の命令は絶対なんだろう。大使たちに切腹や羅刹化を命じておいて、自分たちだけは特別扱いか。それが俺たちの望んだ武士の姿か。
Thank you for the follow, simulated Chloe. Hijikata said nothing. As long as he'd been commander, Hijikata strove to lead by example. He lived by the code and demanded others do likewise to groom the Shinsengumi into true samurai. No doubt Kondo had counted on that fact. He meant to use it to keep Hijikata alive.
島田君、雪村君、トシと一緒に早く逃げてくれ。もたもたしていると連中が押し入ってくるぞ。そうなると俺が投降する意味がなくなってしまう。
He gave Shimada and me a little shove to get us moving, and Shimada turned to look at Hijikata. For a moment, he said nothing.
副長、行きましょう。
Hijikata didn't move. He only stood, chewing at his lip, until Kondo laid his hands on his friend's shoulders and gave him a warm smile.
なあ、トシ。そろそろ楽にさせてくれないか。
Ow!
俺を担ぎ上げるために昼も夜もなく働いて、あちこち走り回って、しまいには羅刹にまでなってしまって、そんな姿を見てる方が俺は辛いんだ。俺はお前にそこまでしてもらうほどの男じゃないからな。
Hijikata didn't look up. He blinked rapidly, trying to hold back tears, and stared desperately at the floor. Then he swallowed, and when he spoke, his voice was tight and strained.
俺のしたことは何だったんだ。侍になって女将に仕えて戦に勝ち続けて、そうすりゃあんたは一緒に喜んでくれるんだとばかり。
From Hijikata's mouth came an outpouring of dejection, not unlike how Kondo was after the defeat at Kofu Castle.
すまないな。お前にそこまでさせたのはこの俺だ。俺がお前を追い詰めたんだ。
Ow. How we doing, friends? Yeah, apparently. Woof.
思えば儚い夢だったな。侍でも何でもない俺たちが腰に刀を刺してご公儀のために働いてたなんて。
Yeah, like this moment is always pretty painful in most of the routes where it becomes a central piece of the plot momentum. But it is really painful here because of how vital this relationship was for both of them. And, you know, props to Shinichiro Miki's fucking performance as Hijikata. Holy shit. That was masterful.
His voice was warm, but it seemed that very kindness made it even harder for Hijikata. Hijikata took a deep breath and squeezed his eyes shut, willing the tears to go away. The room was silent before he finally spoke.
島田、残った大使たちに伝令だ。逃走経路も確保しとかねえとな。
Oof. Trying to reclaim his growly, commanding voice whilst still being broken hurts a lot too. Ow. Yep.
はい。
雪村、お前はここで待ってろ。支度が済んだらすぐ呼びに来る。
All right. With that, Hijikata and Shimada left, and Kondo and I were alone. He reached into his kimono and pulled something out.
雪村君、これを持って行きなさい。
He handed me a small cloth bag. It clinked as he laid it in my hand. What is it?
逃亡資金だ。君には何もしてやれなかったからな。せめてもの気持ちだ。受け取ってくれ。
Oh.
How could he be so kind when his situation was so grim? His warmth still lingered on the bag as I took it. I felt a lump rise in my throat.
今ならまだ間に合うはずだ。都市には言っておくから、ここを出たら松本先生を頼ってどこかに逃げなさい。いくら薩長でも君のような女子にまでひどい真似はしないだろう。我々と関わったことは忘れて、好いた男と結婚して静かに暮らしなさい。それが女にとっての幸せだと思うよ。
Yeah, sorry, dude.
What should I say?
Well, we know what we're saying, right?
I appreciated Kondo's kind gesture, but I shook my head. No, I won't run. I want to go with Hijikata. I'm his page. I bit my lip, afraid that if I said any more, I might cry. Instead, I looked up at Kondo and did my best to smile. His eyes were warm as he looked down on me.
そうか。トシはいい部下に恵まれたな。トシのことをこれからもよろしく頼むよ。
I tried to respond, but the lump in my throat made any sort of speech impossible.
Fuck. Okay, before we continue with this scene, I think it's a good time to take a break. Woof. Go, cuddle something. Eat sugar and, get more tea, ice cream, whatever you need to cope. We'll do like we'll do a good 15 minutes this time just to really walk it off. And then we'll get back at this. I will see you all shortly, friends. Hello, friends. How are we doing? I have returned with fresh tea and a comforting chat with Percy. I think we're almost done with chapter 2. That sounds like my catch-all Ryutama Pinterest board. It's literally just nothing but JRPG concept art. Yes, Creative Uncut is fantastic. I highly recommend looking up the artwork for Terra Battle, which was also a really interesting and delightful mobile game. But goddamn, the art and the character designs are... Mwah! Love them. Some of my favorites. kind of want to load that game up again one of these days, because it had an interesting concept, and it was actually pretty fun to play. It is, like, impossible for me to describe it. But it just felt really unique. It was a cool setting. I liked it. All right. Well, are we prepared to get back to this downward spiral of everything we know and love? We ready to watch Hijikata probably break into a million pieces? Okay. Here we go.
Eventually, Hijikata and Shimada returned. He gathered all of the remaining warriors, including Soma and Nomura.
局長を置いて我々だけ逃げるって本当ですか副長
Oh no!
局長命令だ。お前らは俺と一緒にここから脱出してもらう。
ですがこのまま投降したらすぐ正体を見破られるに決まってます。せめて俺だけでも局長のおそばに。
局長命令だっつうのが聞こえねえのか。てめえ近藤さんの気遣いを無駄にするつもりか。
Soma looked like he wanted to respond, but instead he looked down as he tightened his fists and shook. Just then,
俺残ります。
Yeah, Hijikata's not keeping it together. Not too well.
副長の命令ですけど新選組大使として局長を見捨てるわけにはいきません。
Oh no.
野村君。
野村てめえこの場で俺にぶった切られてえのか。
いや待ってください。
Nomura didn't even blink. His eyes burned with intense vigor as he glared back at Hijikata.
本当なら副長がここに残りたいはずですよね。でも局長から新選組を託された身だからそれができないわけで。だから俺が副長の代わりに局長をお守りします。
Oh. This boy.
Hijikata curled his lip, staring down at Nomura for a long moment silently. Eventually, he unsheathed the Izumi.
Ugh, God, his fucking sword name kills me every time. Izumi no Kami ni Kane Sada is really hard to say. That sword.
From the scabbard on his left hip.
副長。
As the exclamation left Shimada's mouth, Hijikata pointed the tip of his sword towards Nomura's throat.
近藤さんを守るっつったな。
Sweat trickled down Nomura's flushed cheeks. He met Hijikata's stare, fixing his gaze steadily before he nodded in a curt manner.
はい。
だったら絶対にやり遂げてみせろ。何があっても近藤さんのそばから離れるな。
Oh my goodness.
いいな。
Pardon me whilst I close the door.
Nomura's eyes grew wide. They trembled ever so slightly, but soon after they brimmed with a fiery determination.
Oh my god, doggos, please.
はい、野村利三郎、絶対に局長の恩義をお守りします。
Well, I guess this is how he dies this time.
It seemed Nomura convinced Hijikata as the latter returned his blade to its sheath.
行くぞ。
Hijikata's words were curt as he nodded briskly before leaving the residence behind. So in a short while, Kondo and Nomura will hand the terms of surrender to the Imperial Army. I looked back over my shoulder many times as we ran. Soon, Kondo would surrender to his enemies. Perhaps, I thought to myself time and again, if we turn back now, we can still rescue him. There have to be ways all four of us can escape.
4. Shouldn't that be 5?
Shimada seemed to feel the same way, but Hijikata never once turned to look back. We ran and ran through the forest to Ichikawa. It didn't matter how quickly we got there. It wouldn't be soon enough to bring back an army to save Kondo. We all knew that, but Hijikata didn't slow down.
雪村君、大丈夫ですか？なんなら俺がおぶっていきましょうか。
Oh, we've got one dad left. Buh.
I'm fine. I can keep going. Hijikata, his back to us, said nothing, but I could feel how pained he was with each step he took from Kondo. The sun had begun to dip toward the western horizon and night had started to fall when...
おい、そこの者たち止まれ。どこへ向かうつもりだ。
Oh, these guys are gonna die. Hijikata's not in the mood.
He was dressed in a simple Western uniform. Hijikata only frowned and made to walk past the soldier.
止まれと言っているだろう。貴様、まさか爆兵か。
いや、こいつの顔、どこかで見た覚えがあるぞ。そうだ、新選組の土方だ。
なんだと、坂本殿を暗殺した新選組の副長か。
So if I recall correctly, apparently one of the charges levied against Kondo that led to his execution was the murder of Sakamoto. So, you know, he dead. Rip our previous husband.
As they began to scramble for their guns, I noticed the mark of the Tosa domain on their uniforms. Unfortunately, they weren't fast enough for Hijikata. His hair snapped white and he shot toward the soldiers, Kanesada in hand. His strike was so fast and elegant that the eye barely had even time to realize what had happened before two men fell dead to the ground.
運が悪かったな。今の俺は
Oh,
虫の居所が悪いんだ。
it sure is. Just Hijikata things.
A volley of gunfire erupted from the rest of the soldiers nearby. I heard the wet thunk of bullets hitting Hijikata.
Right?
He stumbled, but almost immediately his wounds began to close.
これが銃の痛みか。思ったよりどうってことねえな。
Oh my god. Tone it down, dude.
そうだ。なんてことねえよ。あの人がこれから受ける痛みに比べたら全然ねえ。
Hijikata launched himself at the nearest of the riflemen, his sword already in motion and his face twisted by grief and anger. Even without the fury powers, Hijikata and Shimada could have made short work of the small troop of men. But rage and frustration boiled inside him ever since we'd left Kondo, erupting in a torrent of violence. No, stop! You can't use your powers! He had to understand what he was doing.
うるせえ！黙ってろ！
He knew what he was doing, but he was past caring. Hijikata leapt from tree to tree, his sword flashing like lightning. Every time it moved, a life ended. Rage, anguish, and an unrestrained thirst for blood radiated out from him like heat from a fire. I could feel it even from where I stood. Blood soaked his face, chest, and hands. Still, he cut and cut, never satisfied. I saw Shimada and Soma sweating as they stood silently, watching Hijikata fight as a fury. They were mesmerized. I couldn't blame them. Hijikata looked as if he'd forgotten how to do anything but kill. Every move he made drew blood, and every swing of his sword spilled a man out onto the dirt. He looked like a monster. At last, the only person still alive was Hijikata himself. Silence fell over the forest again. He turned to face us, every inch of skin slick with blood.
島田、相馬、他に敵がいねえか見てきてくれ。
はい。
すぐに行ってきます。
They disappeared into the forest, desperate to distance themselves from the carnage.
お前も一緒に行け。
His voice was cold and rough, like stones grinding against one another. Normally, I would have immediately done as he asked and headed off into the forest after Shimada. But this time...
何をしてやがる。俺の命令が聞けねえのか。
His words cut like a knife, but I didn't move. I'm sorry, but I can't do that.
副長命令だぞ。
He sounded angry, as he often did, but behind that anger was a deep, miserable sadness. If he didn't stay angry, I felt, he would probably cry. I promise I won't get in your way, but please, just let me stay here with you. I knew there was nothing I could do for him, but neither could I bear to leave him alone. I refused to leave. He turned his back to me, to everything. His face was hidden from me. I have no idea what kind of expression he wore on his face. But suddenly his tall back and broad shoulders seemed small, tired, and very, very lonely. What could I say to him? How could I make him feel better? I searched my soul for something, anything, but I came up empty. After an interminable, miserable silence, he finally spoke.
俺は何のために ここまでやってきたんだろうな。
Oof. Wow.
How could this be the card fate had dealt two men so honest and determined? It just didn't seem fair.
あんなところで近藤さんを敵に譲り渡すためか。そのために今まで必死に走ってきたのか。あの人を押し上げて、もっともっと高いところまで担ぎ上げてやりたかった。関西帝君や清正公どころじゃねえ。もっともっとすげえ戦をさせて本物の武将にしてやりたかった。片田舎の貧乏道場の主と百姓の息子でどこまでいけるのか試してみたかった。
Yeah, those were the stories Kondo was just reading.
His voice had begun to shake. I wasn't even sure he still knew I was there. If he did, it seemed he no longer cared.
俺たちは同じ夢を見てたはずだ。あの人のためならどんなことだってできるって思ってた。なのにどうして俺はここにいるんだ。近藤さんを置き去りにしてどうしててめえだけ助かってるんだよ。結局俺はあの人を見捨ててきたんじゃねえか。徳川の殿様と同じで絶対に見捨てちゃいけねえ相手を捨てててめえだけ生き残ってるんじゃねえかよ。
It tore me apart to hear him talk like that. I couldn't bear to just stand and listen. I wrapped my arms around him as far as they would go and pressed my face against his back.
Aww.
He said nothing. Kondo said, after you'd left, I told him that you'd figure it out. And he said that I was asking too much of you. No, I told myself, you can't cry. The pain that Hijikata is feeling was far deeper than you could ever imagine. But to no avail. So the tears began to fall, and I struggled ahead. I know how much you care about Kondo, but he did what he did because he feels the same about you. Don't you see? It's not your fault. You can't blame yourself. Kondo didn't want you to die. That's why you're still alive. He ordered you to leave. You didn't have a choice. Just... please, don't blame yourself. Hijikata listened, saying nothing. Or perhaps he didn't even hear me. Why did words feel so powerless when I needed them most? What good were they if I couldn't comfort someone I cared for when they were at their lowest? After several long minutes, I felt Hijikata relax.
俺を生かすためって。新選組の近藤勇がいなくなった今、どうやって生きろってんだよ。あの人を高いところまで押し上げるって夢があったから、俺は今まで生きてこられたんだ。それがなくなっちまった今、俺なんてもう抜け殻みてえなもんじゃねえか。
He gave a short bark of laughter, but there was no humor in it.
近藤さんよ、あんた俺に厄介事ばっかり押し付けてくれやがるよな。
He choked back a sob and fell silent.
Whew. All right, we're gonna take a minute because that was a lot. Woof. Wow. Like, Kondo's death always hits hard. I think that's an indisputable fact, right? It hits hard, harder in some routes than others because it is a more important moment for certain characters than others. It hits pretty hard in Soji's route because of how much Soji idolizes Kondo. It hits pretty hard in Soma's route because we're so close to it all that time. But this one, this is the big one, right? This is where it hits the absolute hardest. And we're there for the moment when Hijikata breaks, which is its own pain. Woof. And yeah, yes, correct, Jolie. Shinichiro Miki fucking killed it. That was absolutely some of the finest voice acting. Whew. Would that I can ever come close. Remember when we thought this route was boring? Yeah. I'm kind of glad we saved this one for last, honestly. It feels appropriate to have done so. Like, I don't know, it just feels right to button it up with Hijikata's stuff. And I do feel like we get a little more nuance in the way this whole scene plays out than we do in the movie, obviously, because there's more time to spend on it. They're not, we don't have to fit it in the course of like an hour or 2 hours of stuff. And we get a lot of, like, the description and the writing from Chizuru's perspective in this was actually really beautiful, I think. It was like some of the nicest it's been. And it just makes it that much more poignant, the way she describes Hijikata's reactions throughout that whole scene when Kondo is saying goodbye to him. And then that scene on the hill. And how absolutely violent he is in his pain. It was really impressive. And we're not even remotely done. All right. How we doing? Comfort coffee sounds great. Except I can't drink coffee when I'm trying to voice act. I made a big mistake earlier and had an Italian ice before the stream, and it's made my mouth kind of sticky. I don't like it. Oh, yeah, processing. Oof. So it looks like we're going to have Soma with us for the rest of this, I guess. Alrighty. Onward.
The night we decided on heading north, Hijikata, Soma, and I snuck back into Edo. When we arrived at a civilian's house, Soma mentioned he was going to visit a friend of his and he left us. However, I just think Soma was trying to be considerate by giving Hijikata some space.
Whoops. There is a cat that desires inside my room. It's Tristan.
The person who welcomed us in was...
こんばんは、土方さん、千鶴ちゃん。まさか僕のお見舞いに来てくれるなんて思いませんでしたよ。
Oh no. Fuck. I don't like this. Oh my god. Soji, I'm glad to see you, but I know this is gonna be bad. Okay.
お前、起きても大丈夫なのか？しかもその格好。
Also, Soji, why are you dressed? You should be in bed, dude.
ずっと一人で寝てるのにも飽き飽きしちゃって。このままじゃ活躍できそうにないし、そろそろみんなを追いかけようと思うんですけど。
Soji? Did you drink the fury juice?
ふざけたことを抜かすんじゃねえ！その体で刀を握れるわけねえだろうが。
そんなことありませんよ。このところすごく調子がいいんですから。
Suddenly, Okito is crouched on the floor, coughing painfully with strained breaths. Are you all right, Okita? I rubbed his back to comfort him as he caught his breath. At first glance, he may have looked to be improving, but upon closer inspection, he had lost a lot of weight, and it was almost painful to look at his thinning body.
言わんこっちゃねえ。病人は病人らしく静養してろ。
Okita bit his lips out of frustration, grimacing at the thought of admitting his weakness. He sighed deeply and closed his eyes before speaking.
近藤さんはどうしてるんです？今日も来てくれないんですか？
Here it comes. Here it comes. Fuck.
I flinched at his mention of Kondo, which caused my body to jolt unexpectedly. Hijikata, however, was unfazed by his question.
あの人は今や大名だからな。いろいろと用事が立て込んでるんだよ。
Oh.
まだ動くのは辛いんじゃないですか？
怪我をしたのはもう半年も前だぜ。ピンピンしてるよ。刀を握るのはちと難しいが、今の立場じゃ近藤さんが実戦に出ることもねえからな。
自分のことみたいに得意そうに言わないでくださいよ。
Oh my god. Ow. Excuse me, I'm gonna cry into my tea for a minute.
でもそうか、近藤さん元気なんですね。
Oh my god.
Okita finally seemed to have eased down. It looked as if Kondo's well-being was the only thing keeping Okita invested in his own health.
Ow.
But little did he know the truth about Kondo.
次こそは近藤さんを連れてきてやるから、おとなしく待ってろよ。いいな。
信用せずに待ってます。土方さんって嘘つきですから。
Oh my... Oh god, that's right.
誰が嘘つきだ。近藤さんに関することで俺が嘘を言ったことなんざねえだろうが。
The tone of their conversation sounded like one of their usual banter sessions, but this was different, and both of them wore expressions that gleamed with nostalgia. I could understand now why Selma may have felt inclined to step out. I began to gather that there was much for them to reminisce about, so I took the chance to sneak outside. A cool breeze of night air brushed against my cheeks, and I gazed toward the stars twinkling in the clear sky. Tonight, it seemed, was the final farewell between Hijikata and Okita. This was a moment I needed to let them have on their own. Being an outside observer to the intimacy of their conversation told me this much, at least. My heart ached for them. Everyone left Edo for Kyoto only 4 years ago, tightly holding on to their hopes for the future. Huh? In the middle of my contemplation, I thought I'd noticed Soma speaking to someone in the distance. He said he was planning to meet a friend in Edo, but could this be the person whom he was talking about?
Ibuki! What a good boy.
なあ、本当にいいのか？お前、副長とは知らない仲じゃないんだろう。せっかくだから、挨拶ぐらいした方がいいんじゃないか。
いや、やめとく。
どうしてだ？俺たち、もう江戸には戻ってこられないかもしれないんだぞ。
近藤さんは新政府軍に捕まっちまったんだろう。そんな状況で土方さんにどんな言葉をかけたらいいかわからないしな。
Soma's head was suddenly hung low as the words from his conversant seemed to resonate painfully.
言葉じゃなくてもいいだろう。
Conversant? Conversation? Anyway. Or the other party of the conversation, I guess. Is that what it is? I've never encountered that word. Anyhow.
お前の思いを、見てきたものを皆に伝えることができれば、それでいいじゃないか。
Aw.
相馬。
For a short while, Soma's acquaintance looked unsettled by the suggestion, staring at the ground uncomfortably. However, he exhaled deeply before speaking.
俺は新選組の大使だったわけじゃない。新選組ができた時、たまたまその場に居合わせただけだ。
じゃあお前があの絵、羅刹になった芹沢さんの姿を描いたのはどうしてなんだ？
Yeah, that seemed like the wrong word for that context then.
もう関係ない人たちだと思ってたら、金にもならないのに、あんな絵なんて描かないだろう。
それは。
お前は、今の土方さんや三男さん、東堂さんたちに伝えたいことは、本当に何もないのか？
I heard him mention names of our warriors. Does this mean that this man was a friend of the Shinsengumi? Perhaps Soma was planning to meet him with the intention of bringing him over to our side? Whatever the case, Soma's acquaintance gave the impression that he was reluctant to be involved at all. I mean, I'm sure Soma knows what he's doing. So for now, perhaps it was best that this was something I didn't need to bring to Hijikata. As I began to process this information,
おい雪村、お前も掃除に一言かけてやれ。
Okay. After hearing Hijikata's instructions, I walked back to the house from the darkness.
Cool.
After Okita and I exchanged a few words,
それじゃな、掃除。あんまり松本先生を困らせるんじゃねえぞ。
困らせたりはしてませんよ。あの先生が心配性なだけです。
相変わらず口が減らねえやつだ。まあいい。俺たちはそろそろ行くからな。
あれ？もう帰っちゃうんですか？
All right, King, good night. Rest well, friend.
Good night, Okita. Please take care of yourself. I couldn't take it anymore. I rushed to say that to leave.
千鶴ちゃん、ちょっと。
Fuck.
He beckoned me with a gentle gesture, so I walked up to him. Is something wrong?
土方さん、顔色悪いね。あんまり状況が良くないのかな。
Shit.
If I spoke carelessly, I could possibly have given up too much information. Information that could easily hurt Okita. So I fell silent.
僕、あの人のことは全然好きじゃないし、はっきり言ってどうなってもいいけど。
Soji, you're such a liar.
土方さんのそばにいてあげて。
But he ships it.
あの人が倒れたら、新選組は立ち行かなくなるから。
Yes, I understand.
話は終わったか。そんじゃ行くぞ。
Right? Soji, could you be any more tsundere?
Hijikata peered in and I bowed to Okita before walking. Hijikata didn't ask a thing about what Okita and I talked about, and he began walking briskly ahead of me. Watching Hijikata make that promise to Okita a little earlier, the promise that he'd bring Kondo next time, it seemed as though the burden of that promise and the potential it'd be unfulfilled weighed heavily on him. Suddenly, Hijikata halted in his tracks.
雪村、お前は先に江戸を出ろ。
What? No. Fuck that. I love that we're all immediately just like, no!
Huh? What do you mean? What do you plan on doing, Hijikata?
近藤さんを助けてもらえるよう、もう一度幕府に直談判してくる。
Oh boy.
You're going now? I thought we did everything that we could already.
結果が出てねえ以上、十分とは言えねえよ。
But it's not safe for you to be in Edo longer than you need to. The Imperial Army has been after us. They could turn up at any moment. If you get arrested just like Kondo was, then... Yesterday, Hijikata seemed caught up in his dejection. So much so that a proposal was beyond expectation. Why would he be acting like this all of a sudden?
お前は俺の判断が間違ってるって言いてえのか。
Yes. Yes.
Well, I'm not saying that.
じゃあなんだっつんだ。文句があるならはっきり言え。
Hijikata's veins were beginning to show in his face. I told him... Please, Hijikata, I beg you. Stay strong. You, of all people, should know what needs to be done at the moment. I was surprised to hear myself raise my voice towards him.
何をするかは俺が決めることだ。お前が口を挟むことじゃねえ。
I understand, but what are you going to do if you're arrested by the Imperial Army?
だったら何だってんだ。可能性の話なんてしてたら何もできねえで終わっちまうぞ。
So you're going to let Inoue and Yamazaki's sacrifices go in vain?
お前に何がわかる?
Hijikata exploded, and even though it frightened me, I had to give my peace. Even I understand a little. I refused to let my convictions amount to nothing. My heart felt so heavy it was painful even to speak. Tears began to well in my eyes. I couldn't help it. I was there. I saw what Inoue and Yamazaki gave their lives for. I saw it with my own eyes. Both of them loved the Shinsengumi more than anything, and they trusted their commander. If either of them were witnessing what I am right now, it would crush them.
悲しむか。
At last, he seemed to let go of the tension, and his shoulders relaxed slightly as he looked into the distance.
残された奴は先に行った奴らの意志も継ぐべきだと思うか。
Oh my god, this is the heaviest stuff. Jeez.
Well, I think so. I mean, I felt like I was doing so in that very moment. The reason I couldn't back down, even if Hijikata felt compelled to yell at me, was because I knew Inoue and Yamazaki would have done the same.
じゃあ、俺が死ぬまで荷物は増えるばかりじゃねえか。
Hijikata.
怒鳴っちまって悪かったな。確かにお前は分かってた。
His smile looked melancholic, and I felt a dull pain in my heart.
不利な状況で俺が焼けっぱちになるわけにはいかねえよな。大将が戻ってきた時、居場所がなくなってたんじゃ笑い話にもならねえ。
Oh.
Oh. I realized that Hijikata had finally gained his composure, and I responded in kind by calming down. Hijikata? I know I told you to stay strong, but at the same time, please don't push yourself too hard. I noticed you've been running around during both daytime and nighttime.
人のことを気にしてる余裕なんてあんのか?
Oh. Wow, he's got her pretty much called out, huh? Also, yeah, I don't know if it's hope so much as it is denial.
江戸を出た後、途中で倒れたら容赦なく置いていくからな。覚悟しとけ。
That's the Hijikata we like to see.
Okay. I was happy that I got through to him, even if it was just a courteous gesture. I ran right behind him, doing my best to keep up with the swiftness of his pace.
お疲れ様です。ご無事で何よりでした。
After leaving Okita, we had finally met up with Soma and Shimada, who were looking for us outside. Just then...
Yup.
副長、ご相談があります。
Oh, fuck.
Soma looked frigid as he approached Hijikata nervously.
俺に局長と野村の除名嘆願をさせてください。
What? No! Soma. Soma, you literally can't.
幕府側も局長をこのまま死なせたくはないはずです。協力してくれる人もたくさんいると思います。ですから、どうか。
Hijikata was staring down at Soma, whose head was bowed deeply out of respect, and he seemed to take Soma's suggestion into consideration.
言おうと思ってたことを先に言われちまったな。
What?
副長、それでは。
島田、頼みがある。雪村を連れて先に江戸を出てくれ。
Wait, what? No!
What?
俺たちは近藤さんの除名嘆願を続ける。お前の存在はもう足手まといにしかならねえ。
But we just had a talk about this!
Hijikata had given me the same instructions earlier, albeit with a far more aggressive tone. But this time I could sense that Hijikata came to this conclusion after thoughtful consideration. I was so worried about him, of course, but there was nothing more I could argue.
これは副長命令だ。俺もすぐに後を追うから、もうしばらく待ってろ。
I could see Shimada biting his tongue, almost like he was swallowing his displeasure.
わかりました。副長。
Shimada is all of us right now.
He nodded firmly. Then Hijikata looked towards me. There was nothing I could do, aside from follow the orders given to me. Understood. Hijikata and Soma turned around, heading towards the direction from which we were just running.
All right, Twilight, good night. Aw, thank you for the bits.
It was so like Hijikata to bear the burdens of many under his command. However, as I watched him saunter into the distance, I couldn't help but feel like this was the last time we would see each other. Suddenly, my heart sank. Please be safe, Hijikata. Holding these tender wishes close to heart, Shimada and I escaped Edo together.
Where the fuck are we going?
We met up with other shogunate troops sometime later in Ichikawa, and as remnants of the old feudal government, we decided to head to Nikko. Saito had been in Ichikawa for a while, but he'd left earlier for Aizu to oversee the Fury Corps. I worried about what would happen to Kondo. But perhaps because the situation seemed grim, none of us ever brought it up.
Cool. Cool, cool, cool. Man, that was only one chapter. We've only done one chapter tonight. What the fuck? Ooh. Hijikata's frown has the least chill. No shit. How are we feeling? Is a single chapter per stream like enough for us, or do we want to just keep going until the normal stream time? I know this was a lot. We want to call it here. All right. Kondo ain't dead yet, so we're gonna get more emotions, and it's probably for the best. We hold off. They're still trying to get him free, so, you know, we get to deal with that whole situation. Yeah, we're grieving for the eventual grieving that has to happen. Whoo boy. It really is. God damn. But the steps are knives, yes. Whoa. All right. We'll kill this. Let me see. We do have like half an hour yet. Maybe there's some nonsense we can do to decompress. Do we want to like raise a sad little boy some more? Do some little one or something? Or like some intrigue. Royal Alchemist also gets kind of heavy, actually. We just nearly got assassinated, I think, where we left off. Something light and fluffy. Yes. Let's see. Do. Garden pause. Let's see. Yeah, we'll roll with little one. Let me go ahead and just do a quick tap to end the stream so that we have a nice tidy thing of Hijikata's run. And then I will restart it with the other game. I will see you in just a moment. Kaboop.